I'm gonna start off by saying this. I have no dog in this fight, and that's my motherfucking business. But I didn't, so with that being said, this is my take on how Palestinian-Israel conflict. Do what I'm saying? I'm not being anti-Semitic, let's be clear. And all clips in this podcast is being used as fair use. Now, you come with your own conclusions, and maybe my narrative seems kind of biased. I'm just giving you information that I got. With that being said, enjoy the podcast, man.
This is a story about what happened here in 1948.
We are only 750 people, and everybody knows each other. I came from a big family. We lived a good life. We never expect to be massacred. It was a black spot in the history.
That history has been carefully concealed, purposefully distorted, and in the West, largely forgotten.
They put our village as an example with what they can do.
The massacre in this village was one of many in a series of catastrophic events that became known as the Nakba, when hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were violently displaced from their homeland in order to create the state of Israel.
Result of the war, 700,000 Palestinians were suddenly made homeless. Descendants remember it as the Nakba, or catastrophe. The prevailing Palestinian narrative of the Nakba is that Jews, who had no right to Arab land in Palestine to begin with, expelled Palestinian Arabs using force in a deliberate act of ethnic cleansing.
First, I have a very negative opinion of Africans. A very negative opinion. And all Africans doing is seeking asylum, just like the Mexicans and the South Americans are doing here. Joe Biden support. Israel doesn't feel the same sentiments about immigrants. Israel like, fuck the immigrants. Yet Joe Biden still support these people. He still send these people money.
But the United States stands with Israel.
I'm not saying Israel's a racist state, but a lot of racist shit going on.
המדינה היהודית היחידה שיש לנו. אריתריאה וסודאן זה לא כאן. כאן זה הבית שלנו, כאן זו המדינה שלנו. אבל הדבר החשוב ביותר זה לגרש את המסתננים לארץ ישראל ולשמור על מדינת ישראל כמדינה יהודית. חברים, אני היום במליאה. יש להם שם בית. מה זה גירוש? איזה גירוש? הם שווים הביתה. כל מדינה בעולם מתוקנת הייתה עושה את זה. נהפוך להיות מדינת הגירה, אבל יש כאלה ש... אנחנו נגיד פה לכל הצבועים האלה, לכל הצבועים, אתם רוצים לעזור לאפריקאים? תיסעו לאפריקה. אתם רוצים לתת להם אוכל? לכו תיתנו להם שם.
And the audacity to say that they have a homeland when his homeland is Europe. Isn't that a little hypocrisy? Isn't that a little hypocrisy? See, white supremacy are fucking hypocrites. They'll invade a country and tell them to go back to where the fuck they came from, not saying they going back to where the fuck they came from. They all come from Europe. Listen to this bitch.
Minutes after the rally, 1,000 Israelis rioted, attacking African homes and businesses and assaulting any African they found in the street. Here is footage shot by one of the participants in the riot, a supporter of Mikhail Ben Ari. Days later, Yulia Shmuelov-Belkovich, at the time a legislator from the centrist opposition party Kadima, called for Israelis who advocate for the Africans to be locked in prison camps alongside the asylum seekers.
אני מסכם את הדיון.
דרך אגב, מעבירה אותם גם לאותו מקום שאנחנו בונים עכשיו את המחנות שיעבדו שם.
Didn't Hitler put her people in camps? Now, so it was bad for Hitler to put people in camps, but y'all want to put people in camps now? I mean, isn't that a little bit hypocrisy? Isn't that a little hypocrisy? A wee bit of hypocrisy we have? A little entitlement?
According to the Israeli Coalition Against Racism, incidents of racist incitement by Israeli public figures doubled in 2012. In many cases, the targets of their hateful invective were not Palestinians, but African migrants. Chief among those targeting the presence of Africans in Israel is a core of hundreds of state-appointed rabbis, including some of the premier religious authorities in Israel, who issued a letter forbidding Jews from renting apartments to the African asylum seekers and any other non-Jews. Here is a rabbi that we filmed, one of many who labored to promote the religious edict.
איזה מהלך שניסינו פה להוביל בעיר, לא להזכיר להם בתים, לחץ כזה ואחר שדיברנו עם בני הקהילה שלנו והסתובבנו לנסות.
Doesn't it sound familiar? I mean, doesn't it like colonizing? You invade other people's, territory, then you tell them, to get the fuck out of here. You want segregation? Isn't that familiar? Isn't that Jim Crowish?
Redlining is a discriminatory banking practice that denied basically minority populations access to mortgages, especially African American populations.
Oh, and this woman acting like everybody gonna attack her and rape her. Sound like Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden to me. Sound like she's talking about super predators.
מחוץ לבית שלי, יריקות, פסיכופטים, אנשים שרק מחפשים.
We need to take these people on. They are often connected to big drug cartels. They are not just gangs of kids anymore. They are often the kinds of kids that are called super predators. No conscience, no empathy. We can talk about why they ended up that way, but first we have to bring them to heal.
צריך לרצוח אותי בעיניים שלהם, אבל אף אחד לא מאמין לנו. אנחנו גזענים. אנחנו גזענים כדי לרצות לשמור על החיים שלנו ועל השפיות שלנו. אז אני גאה בלהיות גזענית. אני גאה בלהיות גזענית. אם אני גזענית בשביל לשמור על החיים שלי, אז אני גאה.
And this bitch is a blatant racist. She's even saying she's a racist. Like she's an Israelite woman saying she's a racist. So it's safe to say that racism is expressed openly over there, right? See, before we get into the Palestinian, she could be anti-African and anti-Palestinian, but can't nobody be an anti-Semitic? Even though them Africans are Israelites, are Semitic, and even though the Palestinians are Semitic, but it's okay for her to be racist. It's okay for her and Israelites to practice racism openly. There's no one contesting this woman. No one's saying stop, that's anti-black, or stop, that's anti-whatever. But when we say something bad about Israelites, it's a one-way street. Like they can say anything about anybody, but can't nobody say nothing about them. I mean, is that not hypocrisy? Is that not a little bit of little hypocrisy? It seems like hypocrisy to me. So you could say you're racist, but can't nobody say, and matter of fact, they saying that shit in their country, and I can say anti-Semitic shit in my own country. Not that I will, not that I am, because this is not an anti-Semitic episode at all. Actually, this is pro-human, all humans. But isn't that hypocrisy? Isn't that a little hypocrisy? See, before we get into the Palestinian Israel beef, I just want to show that, the African Israel tensions going on unprovoked on the African side. They just seeking asylum, shelter, they are Israelites too. But it seems a little racist. So it seems like Israel treat the Africans like shit, and also seems like they treat the Palestinians like shit. I mean, what is that saying? Welcome back. The Bareback Podcast. I'm your host. So, there's been a lot going on in the news. Israel been attacked by Hamas, whatever that shit is. The new ISIS. And everyone's forced to see this shit. And no one asked to see this shit, but yet it's all in the fucking news. It's all on my timeline. It's all on my Facebook. It's fucking everywhere. It's all on TikTok. And let's get into it. First off, we're gonna bring Britain for all this shit because Britain lied to the Arabs. Britain asked the Arabs to help them fight the Ottomans and defeat the Ottomans, and they promised them the independence. While they did this, they promised the Jews, and they promised France some land, and they promised the Jews an independent state, Jerusalem, because the original anti-Semitic people are European. I don't know how true this is, but from what I've read, everything you read about the Jews is always a myth or a rumor or a stereotype. So I'm gonna say this: I heard the Jews been kicked out of 109 countries, towns or states or whatever, right? World War I, Britain fought the Ottomans, and the Arabs helped them. As we helped for our freedom against the Confederacy. See how parallel? The Lincoln asked us to help him in return for our freedom. We was to get the South or 40 acres of the mule. And when we helped them, what they did was they fucking freed us, but they gave the South back everything. And then they re-imprisoned us with vagrant laws, black code, pig laws, and all that. It's kind of the same thing. See, I don't want to say Jewish because I get in trouble for saying Jewish. And I don't want to say Palestine because both sides are Semitic people. It's funny how you say you pro-Israel and you against Palestine, but that's not considered anti-Semitic. But they're both Semitic people. That's just truthful. That's just truthful. I'm not being anti-Semitic. So I'm not gonna say too much Jews. Let's just say the Europeans versus the Asians, or the Arabs, the people who believe in the Abrahamic God. Oh, they both believe in Abrahamic God. Let's just say the Europeans versus the Asians, right? The Asians being the Palestinians, So let's go back. Israel claim is they have a historic claim and they need a home. Nobody in Europe really fuck with the Jews. Which I don't believe that because the Rothschilds fucking ruled America and Britain and Germany, all types of shit, right? The Jews faced all types of anti-Semitism during World War II where Hitler, did his thing. The Holocaust is probably like the third major catastrophe in American history after, the American slave trade and maybe Leopold in the Congo and a couple other things. Then it's the Jewish Holocaust. It's like the third worst thing that ever happened to the world. Maybe the third, maybe the fourth, maybe the fifth. Because the most important thing that ever happened in the world, the most tragic event ever happened was the Black American Holocaust, which was the American slave trade, right? So with that being said, let's go talk about the Europeans. What did they do? Let's talk about Britain. Britain is a parasite, a colonizer. What they do is they colonize the Americans, they colonize the Middle East. This is what they do. They just colonize and enslave people and make people their subjects. They don't see other people as human. They see white supremacists. These are white supremacists, right? Now, the Jewish people are too Europeans, but they identify as Jewish, which one point Jewish was considered a race. It's not considered now a race. It's more of a religion and an ethnicity, right? Before race exists, before, the Mongoloid, the Negroid, the Caucasoid, and like two other races that some white supremacists made up, because race is not a real thing, but we're gonna say for the sake of argument that the Ashkenazi Jews are Europeans. They've been removed from the Middle East for centuries, ever since the falling of Rome, right? Before Abraham and Isaac and Saul and all of them went to Canaan, because it was Canaan first. Before Israel could claim to it, and they took it just because some God told them that he promised them some land that people already inhabited. They came and slaughtered men, women, and children. It's because of a guy that we haven't proven. That it might seem like literature today. I don't want to offend nobody. I'm not a believer, and in my world, none of that shit exists. But people believe in it, so I don't want to disrespect them. So their God promised them the land that people already inhabited. Never asking the people who there, but what they God feel about it, right? The God of the Torah, the Christian God, the Islam God, the Muslim God was all the same God. So basically they came and slaughtered men, women, and children and made Israel. The son of Isaac is Jacob. Jacob became Israel because he wrestled with God. How can he wrestle with God? That don't make sense, but we ain't getting to that because I don't want to be anti-Semitic or anti-Hebrew or anti-Christian, because I'm not. I'm just saying it don't make sense to me. So he conquered the land in Jerusalem, or whatever time it was, right? So, all right, so the Assyrians came, took over Jerusalem. Then what? The Babylonians came, the Assyrians, the Babylonians, the Phoenicians, the Greeks, and the Romans all took Jerusalem. So they got spread across, Europe. So after they were spread, World War I came, the Zionists came, and they had the idea they needed a home. So the Britain, while the Arabs fighting the Ottomans, there's no Jewish platoon. There's no Jewish army that I heard of. It might have been, but I'm not hearing the Jews do anything. So after the Arabs helped do all the hard work, they thought they was free. Instead, they just flooded their territory with Europeans. Now, at the time, there was 6% Jews there. Now, these Jews are Semitic Jews. These Jews are the Asian Jews who've been there since the falling of Rome, since before that, since the first, second temple and shit like that, right? People, they never left. Everyone else left. It's the Balfour Plan, the Balfour Decree and all that shit. I don't want to get into that. It's too much. Just know that the Zionists made a contract with Britain. Because Britain wanted a foot inside, the Middle East for whatever reason. The Suez Canal, Gaza Strip, and all that is something, to get resources from the Middle East, oil, whatever they get from the Middle East. You know what I'm saying? they want a foot in that because they're conquerors, they're colonizers. This is what they do. They take over people's land. They have no fucking business being. Europeans belong in Europe, but yet they're all fucking across the world. They're in every fucking continent, ruling, causing destruction, fucking causing chaos, and stealing people and depriving people, oppressing people, slaving people, and just fucking causing all types of poverty while they get all the resources and get the best opportunity by oppressing people. So what they did was annex the Jews to Jerusalem because, okay, y'all can be the front line, y'all can occupy it. No one's saying that, but we'll supply you weapons. It's a Britain idea. But some reason, I don't know why the fuck, every time Britain get in some shit, we gotta back Britain. We fought Britain for independence, but yet we fucking just backing these Europeans because it's all white supremacy. When all boils down to it, it's Britain white supremacy, American white supremacy, and the annex Jewish white supremacy. Because I'm saying why Jewish white supremacy is, it's not anti-Semitic. There is proof that they don't accept African Jews and they're oppressing African Jews, they're arresting African Jews. They treat African Jews like the American government treat black Americans.
The discrimination and racism, you can find it at almost every aspect of life. If you go to look at segregations of schools, schools that won't admit young Ethiopian kids, right. You go to the academics, you go, sorry. You go to the government, you see that there are not enough not enough representation, and of course the police brutality, which is to us is the most it's the most urgent because our life are at stake. I want to talk a little about more and show some numbers, put it on the screen. 11 young Ethiopians have died in clashes with police officers since 1997. 20% of youngsters in jail are Ethiopian boys, while their proportion to the population is less than half a percentage point. The number of indictments filed against Ethiopian Israeli minors dropped by 8% between 2016 and 2018, but went up by 20% against Ethiopian Israeli adults. Yes. Furthermore, when you talk about education, 62% were entitled to the matriculation certificates in 2017 at least, while in the overall Jewish population, it goes up much higher to 79%. And when it comes to poverty issues, 25% of Ethiopian households live below the poverty line here in Israel. I want to go to Doron and ask you about this because, Doron, compared to the racism that black Americans see, that is rooted in hundreds of years of slavery, what is the root cause for racism against blacks here in Israel?
I seen it. It's not anti-Semitic. I seen it. They're arresting them, they're pressing them, and it's saying they're converts. Now, rumor has it is that the Ashkenazis are converts from, the Khazar Empire. Now, they're saying there's no proof in the genetics. I don't believe in genetics like that. They're gonna say anything. We're not genetics. How y'all can just say anything and that's because you got a thing y'all say that's genetics and I don't believe in that shit. So anyway, this is the conflict right here. The Europeans are invading Palestine under the guise of religion. This is an all Muslim territory. Now, y'all might not know about Muslims, but Muslims are fucking militant. Ever since Muhammad was a general, and he was just taking over shit. The Ottoman Empire was Muslim. All that area is the Muslim territory. Now, if you put anybody, right, or anything, say if you got a species of fish, and you put it inside a pond, an alien species inside a pond, right, a fish. Either the inhabitants, the native fish, attack this fish, or the alien fish is gonna spread and take over and fuck up the whole ecosystem. That's anything. If you put someone black in a white neighborhood, the white's gonna attack them. If you put somebody white in a black neighborhood, the black's gonna attack them. It's just how it is. When you're a minority, you get attacked. So the Jews claim that it's their territory, and the Palestinians claim it's their territory because they fought for it and they never fled nowhere. They've been there for thousands of years. Well, the Jews fled to Europe, and only the European Jews seem like the ones who are getting the benefits, who are getting military backing and support. Because you'll see that they treat African Jews like shit. They keep the Ethiopian Jews like shit, and they have a word. The Jews have a word for black Americans. It's a form. They call it a form of nigger too. They have their own thing too. That's why I say they kind of are white supremacists too. Because even though white supremacists don't like them, they still are practicing white supremacy because they colonizing and oppressing people. Now, we was all taught to feel sympathy for the Jews during the Holocaust. Even though when we was going through our Holocaust, no one felt sorry for us. No one came to help us. In fact, Jews had slaves and Jews had insurance companies that funded slave ships. And not only Jews slaved black people, they also was slaving Europeans when the Muslims, when the Ottomans was buying European slaves. Why do you think so much of the Middle East people are light-skinned? Because of slavery. They had European slaves too. People don't know about that. People think the Middle Eastern are they just brown. Nah, they got lighter through time because they had slaves. They just fucking slave women and shit. They had all types of women and what's what shit called this you do? They just take women and rape them. I mean, and they became light-skinned because 2,000 years ago, there was all dark people. So basically, the Europeans had a problem with Muslims since the Crusades. I'm not getting to that. That's too much to explain. I don't have too much time. I don't want to lose your attention. And that's some nerd shit. I don't want to hear all that shit. I don't want to bore y'all. The Europeans had a problem with every other group. Now, this group are darker people. For sake of argument, for right now, I'm going to say they're colored people. Now, the Jews, I don't want to sound anti-Semitic, but they acting like colonizers. Maybe Palestine attacked them first. But if you move into my house, because once upon a time, your great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandparent owned the house and got evicted, and I own the house and I've been thousands of years, I've been maintaining it. I protected the house. I kept up with the maintenance, and you come and say this is your house and keep me out. I'm gonna try to set the house on fucking fire. That's a natural thing. See, I don't want to talk about who's a terrorist, who's not. I don't believe in who's a terrorist or not, because one's terrorist to one group is someone else's group hero. I'm not getting to the Hamas. I'm not getting to what happened recently. It all boiled down to this has nothing to do with the people. The people are cool. It's the governments that we should blame. The governments are killing children and killing innocent people because they don't have to do this shit. They can just fight each other. The presidents and the kings or whatever they are, they can just fight each other. Why does innocent people have to be in a crossfire? We struggling. And our taxpayers money, see, that's what I'm saying. And our taxpayers' money goes to Israel. Why are we paying Israel anything? We don't owe Israel. Black Americans shouldn't pay Israel nothing. But our taxpayers' money goes to Israel every year. Hundreds of millions, billions. Since 1948 or 1940 something, we've been paying Israel. I think Israel owe us reparations. But every dollar we gave them is no return. What do we gain? Now, maybe the government gets something that we don't know about, but fuck them. See, the government don't represent us. They use us. They use our children, they use our mothers, they use our grandfathers for military advancement to fatten their pockets. All war, it involves financial gain. People don't war for nothing, but the people don't get nothing. The Israel people suffering, the Palestinian people suffering. The American people are suffering. But yet we letting these immigrants come here, rolling the red carpet out for them. They're getting hotels, they're getting medical, they're getting education. Meanwhile, there are homeless American people. I'm not so much concerned about Israel or Palestine. It's none of our business, but they're making it our business. But I have sympathy for the people, because the people are innocent. The children are innocent. The casualties of war are suffering. All this could have been avoided if the Israelites never invaded. I'm not saying invaded. If Britain would have kept their promise to the Arabs and let them be an independent, free country, and they've been there for thousands of years and they fought, they deserve it. I don't feel the Jews deserved it simply because they fled. They forfeited their territory and they assimilated to other cultures. See, they're only Jews by choice because they could have said they're not Jews no more and voila, they could become white. The Palestinians can't become white. Even though the Palestinians practice anti-black sentiments too, even though they're racist towards us too, they're still a people of color. They're not my allies at all. I don't give a fuck about them. They're not my people. I'm just saying both groups practice anti-black racism. At least the Jews, the Ashkenazis, can be white. They can just say, you know what? I'm not Jewish no more. I'm white. Because all this is the ideology and belief. There are 10 million Jews in America. And rumor has it, they run Hollywood. Rumor has it, they run radio. Rumor has it, Leo Cohen controls a bit of YouTube. Rumor has it, they in everything. Now, I don't know if it's true or not, but rumor has it, they run a lot of shit. And they're less than 1% in the world, but they have a lot of wealth, way more than 1%. The Rothschilds rule the world. They're Jews too. Rumor has it. I don't know how true that is. That's just what I've been hearing. Rumor has it that the European Jews are not the same as the Semitic Jews. Rumor has it. Not sure how true that is. But it seems unfair that the Jews of Europe could just flood Asia, just like they did the Native Americans in America. They just never mind them. Just flooded this shit with a fucking 300 million European peasants to get all the free land, free benefits, Meanwhile, the Native Americans are reservations, and those not even the real Native Americans. Those are the $5 Native Americans. These are the Chino, like the Mexicans are the Chino slave. These ain't even real Native Americans. Because the real Native Americans was reclassified as Negroes, which is black, which is us, which I have DNA of. But we don't get none of that benefits. It's the same thing, the colonizer mentality. They just take over a piece of land and flood it with their fucking peasants, with the unwanted. Because truth of the matter is, them kicking Jews out, or them, not kicking them out, but, you know, giving them Jerusalem is basically kicking them out. Is doing them a favor because of they anti-Jewish, you know, racism or ethnicism. Because today a Jew can't be considered a race because you could convert, you could unconvert, and then you're left with your phenotype. My question is, how many generations, because their phenotypes is not Middle Eastern no more. I seen blonde hair, blue-eyed Jews. I seen red hair Jews. I seen Italian looking Jews. I see Spanish looking Jews. I seen Nordic looking Jews. Like it's not one uniform monolith group. Then you have, and it can't be a race because you have African Jews, you have Asian Jews, you have Semitic, you know, Middle Eastern Jews, you have Nigerian Jews, you have Ethiopian Jews. So those Ethiopian Jews and them African Jews aren't the same as the European Jews. They are different. And you see the abuse, you see the racism within Judaism. Within Israel, you still see the hierarchy of the white Jews are at top. You don't see no colored Jews. You don't see no African Jews. You don't see no Middle Eastern Jews. Now, I could go deeper into Hamas and you know, the first attacks. No, I don't want to get into that because that's not none of our business. It's none of our concern. We just don't want our taxpayers' money to go to Israel no more. We feel that Israel and Palestine should have a fair one between them. If Europe funding Israel, if American funding Israel, I must say that is white supremacy. Fallen Rome was 1,000 years ago, 952 years ago, right? 9 months and 19 days. That's how long the Jews been gone from Israel. Meanwhile, I mean, the European Jews, if they have DNA, they claim they have DNA. I don't know. I don't really believe that, but that's what they're saying. I'm not a geneticist, whatever. I can argue with the shit they can argue. I don't want to seem like I'm anti-Semitic, but it just don't make sense for me. And you can't keep so the Jewish people can't keep inbreeding with themselves because, you know, that'll kill a whole race. So they have to inbred with white people, European, whoever was around them. It's like the African ones had to, you know, breed with the other African ones. If they existed. I don't believe none of them existed. I don't believe none of them trace back to actual Jews in the Bible because no one in the Bible actually existed. There is no actual grave sites of Abraham, Isaac, Ishmael, Jesus, Paul, Thomas, Matthew, Andrew, Tom, Dick, and Harry. None of them bones could be received. Nobody in the Bible, besides the kings of, you know, European empires and Egyptian and Babylonian empires, no one in Hebrew bones can actually been identified to do any DNA to prove that anybody's related to these people. They just got a group of people from a time period and DNA test and said that these was the Hebrew. I don't believe that shit, but whatever. That's just my opinion, whatever. How many generations removed are you before you're a new race or a new ethnic group? For example, right? My dad's father is pure Chinese. He had a kid with a Jamaican woman who had my grandmother. Who had my great grandfather, who was half Chinese and half Jamaican. He had a kid with an African American woman. That woman had a kid with an African American man, my dad, and my dad had a child with an African American woman, which is my mother. I'm not fucking Chinese no more. So that's less than 100 years ago. That's about 80 years ago. Yeah, about 80 years. That's about 110 years ago that happened. These people have been going for 1,900 years in Europe, in Africa. These people aren't the same groups. I mean, so they kept tradition up, but every generation water it down. Like these people are not 100%, let's say, you know, Semitic or 100% Hebrew, because there's no such thing as 100% anything. Everyone has. I have Semitic blood. I have Native American blood, but I'm not a fucking Indian. I have African blood, but I'm not a fucking African. So why are these people the only people who get a form of reparations? Because the Jews being allowed to go back to Israel is a form of reparations. They're repairing their homeland that they claim is their homeland. That's the reparations, and they're getting mad funding, billions and trillions of dollars every year to get funding and support to protect and build their land, right? Well, since Britain are doing that for the Jews, shit, didn't Britain enslave Africans and African Americans? Didn't Britain fucking kill all the goddamn Native Americans? So shouldn't they get land too? Shouldn't they get a homeland too? Shouldn't we get some homeland in Africa? Check it out, right? Before Britain ruled, before Spain ruled, the Moors was there. The Moors ruled Europe for about 700 years. The Moors were, well, most of them was of Islam faith. There was some Christians too. Now, what if the Moors is fucking pull up in Britain and pull up in Spain and say this is our homeland, and Africans started fucking flooding goddamn Europe, which they doing anyway, but I'm saying hypothetically speaking, if you had to say this is our homeland, we taking it back, it'll be fucking the Europeans will be attacking these fucking people who going back to their homeland because they built the infrastructure of Europe. They built the castles, they built the universities, they built the plumbing, they did all that. They told them they civilized Europe. Europeans couldn't read before the Moors. They ain't had no hygiene. They was dying from all types of plague, there was diseases. So it's the same thing. Same thing about the Australians, the indigenous Australians. Don't they deserve a homeland? They should be peaceful if Europeans are staying in fucking Europe and stop colonizing people. That's the thing. Europeans keep fucking colonizing people and then they acting like as if they want to make treaties. How you gonna make a treaty with somebody if you fucking invading their land? Like, maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong, but it don't make sense to me for people to be gone 1900 years and still take claim of a homeland. There are Jews already there. There are Hebrews who never left that area. It was 6%. 6%. Europe started flooding that shit. Now the Europeans are 70% and the Arabs are 21% in their own land. How is that fair? How can you determine what Jews are really Semitic and what's part of converts? So either converts deserve a homeland, but yet you ain't letting the Africans in. And Africans didn't want to go there anyway. Like, I don't get how people always want to be under white supremacy. Like, I don't get it. I don't get how Africans love being under white supremacy. They love fucking grinning. Why don't y'all just stay in your own country? Y'all have to go to fucking Israel, stay in Ethiopia, stay in Nigeria. Stop fucking trying to be under these fucking people. It's a war zone. Why you want to go to a fucking war zone? That's why I don't get these people. I got a fucking uncle who swear to God that he's a Hebrew. Fuck Hebrew because he has some DNA tests. So what, you a Hebrew? You're an American now. We're not fucking Hebrews, nigga. Even if my DNA said I got Hebrew blood, so fucking well, I'm supposed to go claim Israel. Now I'm an American. I'm a fucking American. I don't give a fuck about none of that shit in history. Like, people get too caught up in silly shit. I feel that all the Europeans in Jerusalem should go back to Europe, go back to Hungary, go back to Russia, go back to Poland, if anybody owe you something, it's Europeans. Europeans being anti-Semitic, they should give you part of their fucking land. It should be somewhere in Europe that all the Jews, I vote Germany. I vote the Jews should get Austria or Germany because of what they went through. Now, I'm not too sure for a fact that I'm not denying the Holocaust, but all I hear is 6 million Jews was killed. How many Africans was killed? They never say that. How many non-Jews was killed? No one said that. What's those numbers? Are those included as Jews? I don't know. But it's so many questions that haven't been answered. All I'm seeing is favoritism. And favoritism is fine. Listen, if you want to call it, y'all invading it, y'all taking over, say that. But y'all don't gotta use you don't gotta use religion or just say y'all taking over the territory. Say y'all fucking taking over the territory. You making new boundaries and new lines and making new laws and fuck it. Like, get down and lay down. We can respect that way more. Stop trying to act like you're doing God's work. You're doing the right thing. You're just returning. You're just innocent. You just want peace. I don't want peace. Y'all invading a whole territory. And I'm not being anti-Semitic. When you go from 6% to 71% of the population, that's an invasion. That's an invasion. And shit, and no innocent people be killed. Why? Nobody in government is being killed. That's what I don't get is, how come nobody in the governments or these governments are being killed? Why is it innocent people? Why can't y'all just kill each other? Why can't these governments just kill each other and let the people just do their thing? Like, why do we gotta pay taxes for this shit? Why do we gotta see this shit? It's none of our business. Why we gotta see this shit on our fucking news feed? Hamas is none of our business. Palestine is none of our business. But y'all keep forcing us. I don't want to see this shit on my news feed no more. I don't want my people paying taxes for this shit no more. Like, I feel that Israel owe Americans they taxpayer money back. And they should fucking leave. Just, if you don't want to die, be attacked, leave. You want peace in the Middle East, just fucking leave. You're European. You're phonetically European. You're genetically a little bit of Hebrew, maybe a little bit. But you're 90, we can see you. You're 90% European. You come from Hungary, Poland, Turkey, Germany. You come from all these fucking countries. Britain. You're there for fucking hundreds of years. At what point are you just Europeans? Take away the religion. What are you? You're just a European. It's like the African Hebrews. Take away their religion. They're just Africans. Why we still having a holy war? This shit is primitive as fuck. This is because of religion and a belief. Fuck all that shit. Who's to say that the books are even real or true? Because it's religion, you believe it. Because you believe it, the world has to believe it. It's because it's in your mind, you're identifying it as to be real, that we have to believe it. It's like people forcing they pronouns on us. Because you believe it doesn't mean I have to identify you as such. That's just in your fucking mind. Keep it to yourself. Don't act this shit out in public, because then it's gonna get a reaction that you ain't gonna like. I could just say I'm a Hebrew and take my black ass to Israel. They're gonna kick me the fuck out, but nigga, no. My uncle got genetic DNA saying he's from the Limba tribe or Limba, whatever that fucking African. I don't give a fuck about African shit, but he has the DNA. He has a proof. If that shit is real, I really believe in it. But does he have claim to Israel? Does my uncle Joe black ass have claim to Israel? It seems like only the white ones have claim. I don't know, man. This shit is outlandish, man. And it needs to stop. It needs to stop because you're killing children. No one wants to see children die. Government should fight government. Government should not fight innocent people. That shit should be illegal worldwide. Stop bombing innocent people, you cowards. Go and kill the other people you got disagreements with. Like, you guys get on the phone and just ice this shit out. Why innocent people gotta die? I'm sure Jewish people and Islamic people can't live in harmony if the government is fucking stop sponsoring terrorism. Both sides sponsor terrorism. I don't give a fuck what y'all saying. Both sides do terroristic shit. They both kill innocent people. They both fucking attacking children, and they both bombing shit. And all this can be avoided. Just don't invade their fucking territory. Now, this will sound anti-Semitic, but I'm not being anti-Semitic. This is what it is. If the European Jews didn't invade Asia, which should be really Africa, because it's kind of really Africa, because Gaza Strip, Egypt is right there. I bet it's a whole lot of oil money over there too. I bet they find a whole lot of oil money and resources. They putting the Jews as the frontline soldiers, so the Britain and America could get benefits from it. But what's gonna happen is, once the Jews like really start kicking ass and win the territory, they're gonna turn on Britain and the Americans, and then the fucking Americans and the Britons are gonna side with the Arabs, and it's fucking divide and conquer. Is using pawns. It's the 4 laws of power, man. Don't do no more work than you have to do. Just make somebody else do it. And the Jews are being pawns. They being pawns, and both sides are fucking terrorists. There is no right or wrong side. I mean, if as a thinking man, I would say the Canaanites, people of Lebanon, own that territory, because they've been there before Israel, before the Bible. It was there. Before Abraham existed. They was there. That's their land. It's because once upon a time in your book that y'all said y'all conquered something, which don't even make fucking sense. That y'all conquered it. There's no proof that you conquered anything. It's just fucking this. When does the Bible become just literature? When does the Torah become literature? When does the Quran just become literature? Why is it taking so serious? Why is it taking literally? Like, why is it? I don't get how people today really believe in that shit. Anyway, that's the Red Bud Podcast. That's my take on it. Like, yo, both sides are fucking wrong, and it's none of our business either. If the Jews want to invade Muslim territory, let them do it by themselves. Stop backing them, Britain. Stop backing them, Europe. They should do it with no backing. Why we gotta back them? Why we gotta support this shit? Because both sides, Palestine and Israel, are both show motherfucking racism. They both show racism towards Black Americans and Africans. I don't care, because when we were slaves, Jews ain't do nothing to free us. They ain't support us, and the Palestinians ain't support us. The Ottoman Empire ain't come and help us. That shit don't concern me. I don't give a fuck about it. And I don't think Americans really don't care either. We too busy struggling, trying to pay your bills and fighting these fucking inflation prices. We got all that taxpayer money we spend on immigrants in Israel. It can help us live better and be better. But no, we gotta give our fucking the government just make decisions without us. We don't vote on none of this shit. They just make decisions and spend our fucking money on shit we don't give a fuck about. We don't give a fuck about the Middle East. Even the Jews here not going over there to fucking fight. They're here complaining. That Zionist shit is a form of white supremacy. All Jews don't believe in Zionism, but it's the biggest push. And Britain, Spain, Germany, France, all them countries show so much anti-Semitic hate towards the Jews that they're literally kicking them out of Europe into Asia, and they supporting it. That shit is crazy, man. Don't block me, YouTube. Don't block me. Do not motherfucking. I'm not being anti-Semitic. I just got questions. I'm saying real opinions. Peace to the Middle East, but that shit don't concern us. That's a bit of my podcast, man.
It is not the difference of religions which is causing this conflict. The state of Israel does not represent all Jews, and certainly does not represent the Jewish religion. According to Jewish religion, all of this is criminal. All of this is forbidden. Basics of Jewish belief teaches that Jews are in a divinely decreed exile. We are even forbidden to create a sovereignty for ourselves. But especially when this is by killing, stealing, oppressing an entire people. This is not only criminal according to international law. This is a true violation of Judaism. And still, those people who choose not to follow Judaism misuse that very same religion to justify all those crimes forbidden in Judaism. The root cause is this criminal occupation which is oppressing an entire people. We have to end this occupation in its entirety. If people will ask me my advice, the leaders of Israel should wake up tomorrow morning and step out of the Knesset and return the land back to indigenous population. I guarantee peace.